No! God dang it! Guess we're doing something else this week. Roll it!
Rise and shine, don't wanna work, I'd rather play. Shake my hips and whip my hair.
So, going into this game, all I knew about it was that it was the 5th in the series and that it was a platformer. A friend IRL, that's in real life for those of you who don't game, noobs, asked me to check out Shantae and the Seventh Sirens. But isn't that a Nintendo only release? I would ask my friend, as I have came across other lists that show the Shantae games on mostly Nintendo systems. It came out on Steam at the end of May, and it looks interesting, he replied. And with that, my mind was made up, and now here is my list of 7 facts you should know about Shantae and the Seventh Sirens. If you are wanting more additional content or gaming news in general, please subscribe and ring that bell for future videos. It will go a long way to help out my channel.
Can you believe it?
What? A week?
Time to get to the meat and potato. The story is about Shantae, a half-genie who is invited to a tropical island where other half-genies are called to perform a show of some sort with their respective magics. During the showing, the other genies are genie napped, and it's up to Shantae to find and rescue them all. Shantae has to traverse all over the island and even under the island in a sunken city that the island cities were built upon. Through the travels, the player finds out that the city was in fact an airship. A pirate named Risky Boots, who appears to be the main baddie in all the rest of the Shantae games, reveals that by the end game she had lured the genie napped them, drained them of all their energy, just to steal the airship. My favorite genie was Robin Williams. He was the best. The controls are a bit lacking. Often the inputs were ignored, leaving the player falling into a pit of poison, off a cliff, or unable to move between screens. Gameplay overall reminds me of a little game called Hollow Knight. Yeah, you probably haven't heard of it. It's kind of like Dark Souls except 2D and done in a platformer style. The other games in the series also seem to be more of a traditional platformer with separate levels and a world hub in the middle. This game plays almost like an open world RPG rather than a platformer. Grr! Your waffles have sickened me! Fetch me the bucket! The power-ups are useless and rubbish. The in-game shop offers a wide array of power-ups from fireballs to homing missiles. However, with the upgrades to the hair whip thingy in both speed and power, the other power-ups become pointless as they don't do enough damage to even justify buying them. From flat to fluffy makes hair stronger. The transformations themselves also do very little except for the one boss you fight right after acquiring the transformation. Then, you use them to traverse the island a little bit better, but that's it. They really don't serve much more purpose after that. Each of the 4 genies you rescue will offer to form a fusion and share their powers with Shantae. 2 of the dances make a decent range magic attack, 1 heals the player and the environment, and the last one makes hidden actors appear to the player for a brief time. With the addition of each genie rescued, the new dances open up new areas via hidden platforms, lighting panels, curing poison waters, and even lighting paths and opening hidden doorways. The earthquake dance also does quite a bit of damage and makes it a palatable range damage alternative. I wonder if we'll see Shantae on Dancing with the Stars this upcoming season. She's really getting good. The bosses from the other games, from what I have seen, seem like giant Dark Souls style fights. I was expecting as such, however, I was presented with gimmicky bosses. The main issue with gimmicky bosses is you have to exploit the gimmick in order to beat said boss. Usually, the gimmick had to do with a new transformation power you just acquired, and without it, it becomes near impossible to beat the boss. The boss you absolutely have to beat in order to progress the game. This kind of gameplay kills the enjoyment of the game, and for me, it made the game kind of suck. Kind of like Sarah Connor's life when hundreds of Terminators decided that she had to die. The final boss, the Seventh Siren, deserves its own place on this list, as it's the only boss that, as far as I found, didn't have a gimmick you can exploit to beat it quickly. It also has about 4 times the amount of health as the other bosses, and more of an attack spread. And that was only phase 1. She is also the only boss in this game to have 2 phases, and during phase 2 you have to jump from floating platforms, knocking off pieces of power armor that the 40-ish foot Siren is now wearing, while avoiding the bullet hell type of fight. As far as final boss fights go, it was a complete 180 compared to the other bosses. Typically, games build up the player to take on these battles with necessary skills learned throughout the game. This game, however, does none of the prep work required for you to actually be able to do this fight. And finally, New Game Plus. You get this new game mode after completing the game your first time around. You have to play it on a brand new game file, so you can't change the game mode on your previous save, so basically you have to start the game over. The player gets more magic and abilities, but less defense, and I personally won't be playing this game again, as the game itself bored me to tears. It was a much more expensive game compared to Hollow Knight, twice the price, and albeit it was shorter and less challenging, and I highly doubt that New Game Plus will remedy that issue. I was expecting a challenging platformer, and this game fell short of delivery. Though the quirky animations and almost mischievous atmosphere the game offers doesn't make it a bad game in any means. I feel that if I'm going to play Hollow Knight, I'd rather play Hollow Knight. At least that game doesn't blow like a can of tuna. Well, that's my list. If I forgot anything, or if you feel like I should have touched on anything, let me know in the comments below. Thank you everyone for watching, and have a good day.